First and foremost, I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join me here today for our February Accelerate Series webinar. And our topic for this month's webinar is introducing Sidebar. So we will be focusing on a new feature enhancement that we've made to the platform called Sidebar. Some of you have maybe had some minor exposure to Sidebar, but we recently added in some new applets as well. So we're going to make sure that we talk about it in full today. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is LiaJean McHenry. Most people call me LJ. You're welcome to call me LiaJean or Leah or LJ. All three are acceptable. I'm our Senior Manager of Customer Success here at AssetMap, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to host these Accelerate series webinars that we host every single month. I think this is my fifth year hosting this series, which is wild because at that point, it's like for a lot of you that have been with us for quite some time, we've maybe done 50, 60 webinars together. So thank you all for your continued support and joining us. If you like today's training and you're like, I'd kind of like to see some of the past ones, you absolutely can. All of our Accelerate series are recorded. We do post the replays on our corporate site, and we also make them available in the support center. So I'll make sure to point them out to you later today. I also typically will send an email follow-up about an hour or so after the session concludes. If not, later this evening, first thing in the morning. Sometimes it just depends on how long the recording takes to render. But then from there, you'll also get access to the replay. So without further ado, let's talk about what our agenda is going to be today. Well, our topic is all about introducing Sidebar. So I'm going to go in app and really define what Sidebar is. We'll talk about the functionality behind it, kind of how it overall works. Most importantly, we'll talk about how you can turn it on and off because some people might want Sidebar on all the time. Others might want to be able to utilize it here and there. And others might say, you know what, I think I want to turn it off most of the time and then turn it on when I can. Regardless, there are lots of options in how you can choose to use it. And we'll cover what those are today. All throughout our training, if you have questions, please feel free to use the chat feature in Zoom. I do keep that pulled open. No one will see your questions except for me. And if it's applicable to the group, we most certainly will get it answered. Otherwise, if it's case specific, you can stick around at the end and I can certainly get it answered, or you're welcome to reach out to our support team. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in application. Where I'm going to start today is I've already chosen to be in a household because ultimately that's where Sidebar lives. In order to access Sidebar, you need to just be in a household, just like I am here, and you can come right to their digital asset map. Now, on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, if you see this little kind of arrow that's kind of like a little, it's kind of like sticking out just a tad. If you click on that, it actually opens up the sidebar on the right-hand side. So we'll go through what each of these applets are in Sidebar, but for some of you, you may not even see this when you log in. If that's the case, it just means that Sidebar has not been turned on for you. This is an easy fix. In order to turn Sidebar on, go to the digital asset map. From here, you can right click your mouse, which is our quick actions menu. As a reminder, that's just a condensed menu of the full menu you see on the upper left, which is the colorful plus mark. I find I use the quick actions menu the most. So I right click my mouse, I come to toggle visibility. All you have to do is make sure that Sidebar is checked. Okay. If it's unchecked, Sidebar would be turned off, which means down on the bottom right, there would be no little tag for me to open up Sidebar. If I was to turn it on, then over on the bottom right, you're going to see that there's going to be the pop out of either this little tab to open up Sidebar, or you'll see that the Sidebar will be opened when you can see the 5 applets here. Okay, so that's going to be how you can turn Sidebar on and off. If you turn it off, so let me show you an example. If I right click my mouse and click toggle visibility and I uncheck Sidebar, if I was to navigate to another household, Sidebar would also be turned off. So when you would turn it on or off, it'll be across all of your households. So don't feel like you're going to have to, keep doing this every time you click into a household. You can just decide, do you want it on or do you want it off? In today's example, well, the whole point of the webinar is we're going to cover it. So we're going to turn it on. When Sidebar is enabled and you have the Sidebar fully open, we're going to give you 5 applets that you can choose from. Okay. One of the first ones up at the top is the additions button. So this is just another place where when you click on it, it allows you to quickly add in additional instruments, members, and entities. The whole purpose of the sidebar is that it kind of opens areas to the right hand side of the screen so that you can always see the entire full map at all times. Now, one of the most important things I like to call out is that sometimes with sidebar, depending on your monitor size, sometimes the sidebar can like kind of cut into your map a bit, but it's just due to how big your monitor is or your zoom percentage. So let me show you an example. I'm using Google Chrome. I'll come up here to the three dots, and if I was to zoom in a bit more, you can see that the sidebar now is cutting off almost all of the assets on the spouse's side. So if you see this, don't panic. It's likely just due to how big your computer screen is, whether that's a monitor or a laptop, and it's due to your zoom percentage. So, for each of us, we might have to kind of play around with what zoom percentage tends to work best. For myself, I find that on like my regular sized monitor and on my laptop, I kind of like 125%. But again, you're going to want to do your due diligence to check. So the plus mark is addition. So anytime you come in here, if you were to click add a cash flow, it just opens up the fields for you to add a cash flow. Versus, now watch this. If I exit out of sidebar and decide to tuck in the applets, if the applets are kind of tucked in, basically sidebar has been put to sleep. So now if I was to click on any of the instruments, it would just reopen each of the modules in the middle of the screen, right? But a lot of the feedback we received over the years is, yeah, but every time you click into any type of an instrument, it opens it smack dab in the middle, and then it kind of hides the members and their ages, and half of their jointly owned asset tiles are kind of blocked, and you can't see the insurance. Well, we took that feedback to heart, and that's why we've implemented Sidebar. Of course, like with everything, if we come up with a good feature enhancement, we usually come up with even better things that can also be added. But that's why in this second option, this applet that looks, I like to joke that it kind of looks like a microwave because that's what it kind of reminds me of. But ultimately, what this is it's the platform screen and you being able to open any member or financial tile to the right hand side. So now, if sidebar is open and I click on any instrument, it does open the instrument, but to the right hand side of the screen. All three of the tabs that are normally in an instrument are still here, but we just put them in a listed format. So now you can look at the Essentials tab, the Details tab, the Notes tab. Okay. These tabs and functionality work exactly the same way that they do traditionally. Again, it's just allowing you to open up instruments, entities, and members to the right hand side of the screen. So look, I can click on this member and then it opens up the member on the right. And there's four tabs because in members, you have an essentials tab, you have a details tab, of course, a notes tab, and also a client portal tab. Okay. So just know that it's still the same functionality, just a slightly different way of viewing it. And some people have really found that this helps them streamline their workflow because you're kind of doing everything in order, kind of working top to bottom. Okay. And then the next tile here, or rather applet, is going to be our legal applet. So some of you may or may not have noticed that one of the enhancements that we've made in the last couple months is legal instruments. So for the first time ever in AssetMap, you can now add legal instruments to a household. You're not uploading documents, you're simply notating whether or not people have a will or testamentary trust or power of attorney, or other is the catch-all. So in Sidebar, we give you the flexibility to be able to leverage and view any legal instruments you've already added and give you the ability to add any new ones. Now, let's talk about legal instruments just for a moment. And to illustrate this, I'm actually going to exit out of Sidebar and tuck this Sidebar applets in. You likely have noticed that for some of you, when you come to a household, there's this legal pill at the top of the screen, right? Because with legal instruments, that's how this was designed. The default is that you'll see the legal pill. That will always be at the very top above protection assets. So oftentimes going to be things like, insurance. And up top, when you click on the legal pill, it opens up the same field. So as you can see here, we can see what we've added. We can then add something new. However, any legal instruments that get added also always appear in Sidebar if you have it enabled. And legal instruments always flow through here to the financial section. So, in the financials area, this is the list of all of the assets on these folks' asset map. So, all the cash flow sources, the assets, liabilities, insurance. But at the bottom, legal instruments will always flow through here as well. You can also add legal instruments from this view if you prefer. Now, the reason I show this to you is because on the asset map itself, some people don't want the legal pill or tile to be on the digital map all the time. And as long as this is here, it's also on the printout. So if you're like, legal instruments are important and we do want to be able to talk to them, but I would prefer that this kind of legal pill be hidden. You can. All you have to do is right click your mouse, come to toggle visibility, and uncheck legal. If you uncheck legal, the legal pill will disappear from the top of all of your households and asset map. However, you can open up your sidebar and click into legal at any time. And any legal instruments that were added will still be there. You can add any new ones, but that's how we see some people leveraging sidebar as well, as being able to quickly pull open legal and kind of present those different sections. The next area in our sidebar in terms of applets is the introduction of having signals. So many of you are already familiar with Signals. Signals is an incredible tool that allows us to kind of screen households' information to determine, does it look like you can financially weather these storms? Now, of course, you all will always have the Signals section over on the left-hand side. You can always dive in there. Shows the same 6 critical life events that commonly take place. It'll produce kind of where this household's falling for each of these signals. You can click into the details tab. We'll tell you what the signal's based upon. We'll give you some considerations, but really the whole purpose of signals is to have you go run target maps. Target maps are where we mathematically quantify, are you on track for these goals? And if this unexpected life event took place, would you actually be okay? The whole purpose of signals is to be a screening tool for us, the financial professionals, so that we can always be on the lookout for our clients. Now, I personally am so overjoyed that Signals has been added into the sidebar feature, because now you can stay on the asset map almost the entire time for a meeting if you wanted to. You can host an entire meeting just on the asset map. Why? Because you could open up Signals in your sidebar. You can click on a signal in sidebar. It tells you again what that signal is based upon. It gives you some considerations to consider. But there's one enhancement that we also made with showing signals in sidebar, and it's this little eye option here that's called show related financials. Those of you that maybe have had exposure to signals, you know that signals is based off of a predictive model built into the back end, based off of some industry standard algorithms, very round, high level math. It has to be in order to work across all households. We don't share those mathematical algorithms with you all today, and likely won't, right? For proprietary reasons. But at the end of the day, we also don't share it because Signals is not a perfect solve. Signals is supposed to be an indicator to guide us as to, could there be a problem here? And then we go run the numbers specific to those people to determine that. Well, while we won't share the algorithms, for the first time ever, we now allow you to click the preview, and it'll actually show you for this loss of life signal. Even though we told you what we were taking into consideration in written text, you now can visually see, looking at this household asset map, to say, for this loss of life signal, this is looking at life insurance coverage relating to their remaining aggregate, pre-retirement, and annual earned income. Okay, so all it's looking at is their current insurance, what they're bringing in from an income perspective, okay, and a little bit of cash value that's, again, tied to an insurance policy. That's what this is looking at. And if you're like, well, I'd like to learn more about signals, we actually offer a signals target map training twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you have any interest in that, you're welcome to attend. And always, as a reminder, you can always go into the support center. We have a really great support article called Signals Benchmarks. So while we won't share like the algorithms, if you're kind of curious of like the benchmarks behind each signal, it's a wonderful resource that you can lean on and take a look at. So for the first time ever, Signals now flows through into sidebar, but in addition, you now get to preview like what's being taken into consideration. Again, we're not sharing the algorithm behind it, but it provides insight so that you're then able to confidently go run the analysis to either agree with the signal or disagree with the signal. Because sometimes signals are trigger green, but green doesn't mean that they would be fine. You got to go run the numbers. Where you run the numbers is in target maps. Now, our final applet in Sidebar is target maps. And so again, for the first time ever, now you can be on the asset map screen, open up your Sidebar and see any of those target maps that you've already created. Okay. From this area, if you wanted to add a new one, you'd have to go into the target map area. So you'd have to click this arrow, but it would take you in. From this view, it'll show you any that you've already created. Now you can click into any of these with a little drop down and it'll provide some additional insights specific to this target map. You also will be able to click the preview button as well. Okay. Great question coming into the chat. So like I said, we offer a signals target map training twice a week. We offer it Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you find that you might like a little bit of a refresher, I will go ahead right now and just post those links into the chat for the entire group. And that way, if anybody wants to kind of sign up, you'll have the ability to do so. Okay. So we offer that training twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, full 60-minute training dedicated to signals and target maps. And I'm going to be honest, when it comes to target maps and signals, it really will probably be just get some good exposure so that you understand generally how they work. And then more importantly, you're going to want to actually go into AssetMap and start running some examples. And then if you need help, that's where you can reach out to the support team via our phone support line, email, live chat. Of course, you can ask to book one-on-one time, just plan in advance because obviously calendars fill up, right? But we're definitely here as a resource for you. Now, very similar to signals and Sidebar, with target maps, not only do you get to see like what the target map funding percentage is and what the funding circle looks like. You'll also be able to see some quick insights into what that target map looks like in terms of the parameters. But you can also click the preview button again, which says show related financials. If you click that, it will actually say, hey, for this retirement funding target map, these are the assets and cash flows that you selected that would be applied towards the funding of the goal. So in terms of presenting this to a client or prospect, we can say, again, this is your retirement funding baseline. If we average a 3% rate of return, these are the assets and income flows that we are going to use during your retirement years. And so you can do this live in front of clients and or prospects, or you can go ahead and use this as kind of like a fact check for yourself behind the scenes. Either way, to hide the related financials, you just click the button again. You can also pin a target map here. So if you click to pin it, it'll just keep it here at the top, and then it won't allow you to move anything else above it. Okay, very similar feature to how it works if you were to go into the actual target map summary page. But the interesting thing about pinning target maps and marking a target map is the following. If I click to pin this first one, for example, if I pin that, okay, I could also pin the education target map, for example. Okay, you can pin those and you'll notice it moves it up towards the top, kind of helps me change the order. I can mark one target map per type of target map. So what am I talking about? Well, I have 3 different retirement funding target maps. Only one of those can be the target. And the target could be like, this is what you're planning to do, or the target for you could say, this is what we're aiming to do. It's up to you. Okay, I'm going to use it as like, this is our selected target. This is what we're aiming for, which is averaging a 5% blended rate of return. This is what I want. The reason why pinning and marking something as an aim target is important is because up at the top here, you can say, let me just look at the targets. And there again can be one target per type of target map. So one for retirement, one for loss of life, one for long-term care. And anything that's pinned, you can click pinned and it would isolate those. So in a scenario like this, where you might have several target maps created, maybe you only want to open up Sidebar to show the couple that are pinned to have just those conversations instead. These are visually ways to kind of help you and guide you through that process. So with that, this is ultimately what Sidebar is, and we're going to continue to add some enhancements. I don't believe this will be applicable to anyone on this call, but if you are an enterprise client and if you are to log in and your sidebar looks slightly different, it might just mean that we're still under compliance review for a couple things for you. So just be aware of that. To exit out a sidebar, you always click this little exit mark on the upper right. The sidebar is still open though, as long as you see the applets on the right hand side. So if you wanted to put the sidebar to sleep, you can simply tuck the sidebar in. If you don't see the applets, basically the sidebar's there and available when you need it, but it's closed for now. To open it, you click the little tab here down at the bottom right. To close it, you can tuck it in. If it's tucked in, now when you click into a member or an entity, it goes right back to the original format, which is just open the tile in the middle of the screen. And again, same tabs, essentials, details, and notes, just a different view. I hope you all found this helpful in teaching you kind of how Sidebar works and ultimately how you can think about using it. Before we even start to wrap up today, though, I do want to engage you all with a quick little poll. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that open here. One of the things I want to know is, what are some things that you'd like to learn more about in terms of areas, topics regarding Asset Map? I put this quick question on the screen. It's fillable. If you have a moment, feel free to fill it out. You can say, I want to learn more about marketing. I want to learn more about target maps. The key to know here is that we really already probably have resources built for what you're looking for. But if we see, additional topics or ideas that you come up with, that could give me inspiration for webinars and topics that we do moving forward. So feel free to fill that out. I'll leave it up there for another minute and then we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, perfect. So it looks like we had some people submit. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll for now. If anybody wants to add anything, you can just use the chat feature. You can type that to me and I can also collect information that way. The last poll that I want to engage you with is, do you love Asset Map? Many of you do, and many of you have already likely done this for me in the past. But for those of you that do love Asset Map, would you be willing to leave us an honest review? I think one of the things that I really appreciate is the ability for us to hear from our users as to what you love about Asset Map. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab that link. So just stay tuned for just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. But if you are willing to just take a moment and leave us a review, I'm going to ask that you go do so through the reputable G2 website. If you're not familiar with G2, it's an incredible review website where you can go to see reviews on other technology and things that you might have interest in. Anyway, it's a great site. It ensures that people aren't robots leaving fake reviews and things like that. So for those of you that said you wouldn't mind, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there in the chat for you, and I would sincerely appreciate it. As we wrap up today, my final comment is to just say thank you so much for joining. Always stay tuned for whatever next month's webinar is going to be. That'll be solidified by early next week, and then we'll get it posted on the corporate site where you can register. We'll also make sure to do some in-app messaging so that you don't miss it. For those of you who said that you love Asset Map and you would be willing to leave us a review, thank you for that. Feel free to click on the G2 link I posted in the chat. It'll also be included in the follow-up. The last thing I'd like to mention is that once a quarter, we offer an incredible training opportunity, which is our Asset Map Virtual Bootcamp. I just completely restructured how boot camp is run. We just did our first boot camp at the end of January, and it was incredible. The feedback that I received of just how we've chosen to kind of restructure it has just been amazing. I've never been more confident of the value that boot camp has already brought, will continue to bring, but bring even more moving forward because I'm constantly making enhancements to it to make it better. So for those of you that are unaware, we offer Asset Map Virtual Bootcamp once a quarter. And our next virtual bootcamp will be coming up in April, okay? So you have time to plan. If you want to learn more about it, I'm going to post a link in the chat here where you can go to the website to learn more. The important thing to note, though, is if you're on our elite level subscription, Bootcamp, the cost of bootcamp is already included in your subscription. So you can sign up for bootcamp at no cost because of your subscription level. And if you want to learn more, you can also click the chat bubble here on the upper right-hand side in-app. That's where you can go to live chat our team, search for help. Down here at the bottom, though, there's one that says level up your acid map game. You can click on this in app, and that'll also take you to our bootcamp registration site. Bootcamp is a deeply immersive event. It's broken out over 3 days. So it's April 22nd, which is a Tuesday, through April 24th, which is a Thursday. It is 5 hours each day from noon Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. However, we take breaks based off the feedback I received. Everybody finds it to be incredibly valuable. It's well worth your time. And because April's coming up, you still have ample time to kind of plan your schedule. So if you are on our professional level subscription, I'm offering you early bird pricing to sign up on a discount. So feel free to use the promo code I posted in the chat. If you are an elite level subscriber and you would like to sign up for bootcamp, you get a special promo code. So you can either chat me in the chat right now and I'll tell you what the code is. I just have to verify your subscription because every now and then someone will say, well, I'm elite, and then we go and look and they're not. So just make sure that you reach out to our support team if you need to know what that promo code is. We'll also be promoting in app based off of your subscription levels. So if you're elite, you will also see a banner in app soon that will show you what that promo code is. Okay. The key thing to note about bootcamp is that it's held virtually, so you can join from the comfort of your office or your home. You can stay off camera the whole time, on camera the whole time. It's up to you. But the one thing I do like to mention is that we do record the sessions and we do make the recordings available for up to 30 days post event. So even if you can't come the entire time, it's worth signing up, joining here and there where you can, and then watching the recordings back. And usually I try to extend it out to like 35 to 45 days, just depending on holidays and things like that too. So would love to see you all there. The very last thing, I suppose, to kind of close us completely out is, what did you think of today's training? All right. This is a short and sweet survey. It's 2 questions. I just want to know, did you find today's training valuable? Would you like to find more additional training moving forward? Please feel free to click on the link I just posted in the chat. Let me know what you thought of today's webinar, or you can scan the QR code. Because so many of you are still on, I mean, I'm shocked, like only like 4 people have left. Everyone's still here. So if you're still here, let's chat about something. If you want to find past Accelerate recordings, you can come in app, okay? In app, you can come into the support center and all you have to do is click the search for help option. And all you have to do is type in the word accelerate. Okay, so when you type in the word accelerate just like that, there'll be an option up at the top. You can click on that, and then what it's going to do is it's going to take you to a page where you can click on the Accelerate series webinars. When you do that, it's going to show you all the webinars that I've hosted in 2024, the one I hosted last month in 2025. Okay, and we even down below have like webinar archives. So if you want to look at ones that we've even hosted farther back, you can. But I usually say the ones within the last year are the best to kind of lean on, simply because the product is always changing. So just wanted to show you all where you can go in app if you're looking for more training resources. And of course, know that you can reach out to our team. Other than that, that's all I have for us today. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. An even better weekend to follow. Please stay safe and warm depending on where you're located, and I'll hope to see you at the next one. If you have any final questions, now's a good time to add it in the chat. I'll stick around and get anything answered. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.